So welcome back. This is part 3 of understanding the social and cultural environment of the First Testament, and here we're looking at social context, societal structure. Israel is a group society, we've talked about that. It's very interesting that the New Testament also still sees us very much as a collective. In fact, most of the things in New Testament theology are things that we're supposed to do together, not things that we're supposed to do as individuals, and we kind of misread that in the early church when Ananias and Sapphira are judged, an incident which we're supposed to think of in terms of the judging of Achan. It's very interesting that they're judged as individuals, not collectively. If that had been the First Testament, Sapphira would not have been questioned in her own right. She would just have been put to death for what her husband did. That tells us something about what the New Testament considers important, and it tells us something about gender roles in the New Testament as well. We all have a common ancestor, Abraham, but the naming ancestor of Israel is Jacob, whose name becomes Israel. So Israel are Israelites, they are not Abrahamites, and each of the tribes comes either from Israel's sons or from his grandsons. Now this is why genealogies are so important, because a genealogy says who I am and where I belong and what belongs to me and what I can expect from God in the way of promises and covenants. Genealogies tell me who I am. Now in the ancient Near East, generally speaking, it was only kings that had their genealogies recorded. The fact that the Bible is happy to record genealogies of all kinds of people, again, tells us something about how they understood society. To start off with, everybody is a member of a tribe. One of 12 tribes. Well, 12 tribes. Count them. Actually, you'll discover in the Bible there are 13 tribes. 2 lists are given to us. One list includes Joseph and Levi and has 12 tribes in it. The other list excludes Joseph and has Ephraim and Manasseh in its place. Sometimes Levi is also not included. As a result, it's always 12 tribes, but if you look at the lists, there are actually 13 tribes. When you look at Gideon in Judges 6 verse 15, how does he describe himself? Well, I'm the smallest in my family is the smallest in my clan is the smallest in my tribe. That's the structure of Israelite society. Even in the New Testament, when Paul wants to explain who he is, he immediately tells us which tribe he came from. So tribes. Even when we have a monarchy, even when we have a move towards urbanization, tribes become or remain very important. It matters which tribe you're from, and the tribal structure remains in place right the way through. Israel is a federal nation, a tribal federation. It's a grouping more than it is a nation, and each tribe is different. Each is named after its ancestor. Some are larger than others. Each has its own distinct geographical location, and each tribe did things differently. They even had their own dialects. So we get the whole shibboleth, and the people of Ephraim can only say Sibboleth. S and Sh in Hebrew are actually variations on the same letter. The army is tribal in its organisation. So if you look into Numbers, where a military census is taken, it's taken in tribes. War was ever present, and there was always a need to raise an army. And until the time of the kings, there is no standing army. So the army is the ordinary people, and they just get called out to fight. So everybody is in the army between certain ages. Even when David and Solomon institute standing armies, they're still relatively small. We know there are blocks within the tribes according to the mothers. So if you look at the way the camp is laid out in Leviticus and in Numbers, you will discover that it's laid out in a way to keep certain tribes together and certain other tribes apart, depending on their mother. So the Rachelite tribes, the ones that are descended from Rachel, Benjamin, Ephraim and Manasseh, They're often considered to be the most important. They're the ones that always felt they had the right to rule. Judah always is in competition with Ephraim, and you can read this even before the nation splits. Leadership happened at a tribal level. There was no one leader over the nation until the time of the kings. And then you have clans. Family ties are very, very strong, and most legal and economic affairs happen at a clan level. Again, in the army, you fight in your tribe, but you also fight in your clan, and you fight with your family. So when you're going out to fight the Philistines, you're going out to fight the Philistines with your brother and your uncle and your father. You're doing it in a family grouping, and of course that changes the way that you fight. Property and inheritance happen at a clan level. Again, you can see this in the book of Ruth, and there is an expectation that you're going to marry within your clan. Certainly within your tribe, but most of the time within your clan, because it's important that property gets kept with the family. The father of the family is responsible to represent the family to the clan. So the individual doesn't appear before the clan. If there are problems, it's the father. The kinsman redeemer might be a member of your family, but will certainly be a member of your clan. And of course it's his job to redeem family land or people that find themselves in slavery, or to revenge murder. Then you've got an extended family unit, which might be somewhere between 50 and 100 people. And again, the ties are very strong. This is the fundamental basis of Israelite society. It says in Genesis, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. But of course in Israelite society nobody did leave their father and mother. They stayed living with them. Not necessarily in the same house, probably in the house next door. I mentioned that within villages there were clumps of houses which appear to have been families. Social welfare works at this level. There is no pension in Israel, there is no dole, there is no government support. So you're looked after by your family, and there is an expectation that you will be looked after by your family. And religion also functions at this level, which again is why if you sin, then your whole family is considered to be responsible. Wow, that was so much shorter than the previous section. That's the end of section 3, moving on to section 4.